here. Now, big question, why is this happening? Why is this happening now? Well, Sunday we had a big event here on the stream, the Gentry Open. It's our own invented formats season finale, and well, COVID-19 happened. So our big event that's usually heavily sponsored, that offers tons of awesome prizes, wasn't really the same it usually is. Let's just put it that way. So we made the event go online, and it was a big success. And because the success went so far that we even got donations, as you can see, wait, where is it? Down there. The donation, that slacker over there that donated $25, but that's not the only one that donated. In total, over $60 was donated, and that made me want to do something cool for the channel. And I figured, what's cooler than a revised starter deck, right? So we're gonna be opening this one up. It technically still belongs to me, but I sold it to someone else who graciously agreed that I open it on stream. So thank you very much for this buyer that would like to remain anonymous, and we're going to get to it. But before we actually rip this baby open, let's have a look at what this actually is. So revised, for those of you that don't know, is the fourth set that came out after Alpha, Beta, and Unlimited, and it removed some of the problematic cards in that time. So there's no Moxen, there's no Black Lotus, there's none of the crazy blue spells in here like Ancestral Recall. But thank you, generous buyer. Yeah, sorry, cameras with the camera here and chat there. I think I'm gonna have to switch my screens as well. So let's see. It was Saturday, right? It was Saturday, sorry. So what is this? It's a revised starter deck currently. Let's have a look here. It's revised starter. You can buy it for 540 euros if you want one yourself and you want to experience the thrill that I'll be going through. Of course, it's not going to be mine. It's actually for someone else. And let's have a look at the cards that we hope to open for our lucky buyer. We can see here the top 4 cards are the blue dual lands. And if we actually have a look at them, and we filter on near mint, which is what we're going to open here, we can see that they start above 300 euros each. So that's pretty crazy. Okay, so let's switch back to dual screen. Zwing, awesome transition. There we go. And we see we have the deck here, and we do indeed have gloves to go with it. So let's do the nice little snappity snap. In the meantime, let me know what you think about the new camera angle. I wanted to not have the mirror behind me in the screen anymore, and just showcase my mess of magic cards, which I'm gonna have to clean up and make look a bit prettier as well. Hands nicely in the gloves. Will there be a charity event, like giving away the opened card to donors and donate the money to some charity organization? No, since this one was bought by somebody, but I have another one for which I might do that in the future if we reach a certain very high threshold for the stream. Think you were the only one with a mess of cards? Oh, honey. Oh, honey. I have shelves in warehouses with cards. So I don't think you're the most problematic one. Aloha, Jonas! Just in time for the opening of our revised starter deck. So these have 2.8 rares in them. Apparently there are odds of getting some only 2 rares, but usually it's 3 rares. You can see they come in a neat little pre-packaged pack, and we already see there's basic land inside as well. So let's see how we open this. There's no little rip line on this one, so I'll take my trusty knife again. Just open the side here. I'm actually nervous, guys. 500 euros opened. Why the knife when it has the gold strap to open it? Because the gold strap, when it gets old, it doesn't really work that well anymore. Open it by the rulebook. Hey, we went then sideways, covered by the plastic. We'll be okay. Okay, now, the gloves are static. It's okay. So I'm not actually sure how these are sorted. I know it's something, make everyone mad and do flip it or rip it. Yeah, we're not going to do that since, again, these are not technically my cards anymore. Hope you cleaned that desk. I did. It's very smooth and neat. So let's go through it. We get a counterspell already. That's pretty nice. But this looks like this is uncommons. So, no, that was a rare. So I think these three are the rares, if I'm not mistaken. We already know one of them. If you were quick, you saw it. But we're gonna go through it like this then, and hopefully keep the rares for last. So, Keldon Warlord, Black Ward. We're gonna stop if I see awesome stuff. Essence Flux. Tsunami is pretty good. People thought it was broken when Magic came out. Can we zoom in a little bit more? Oh, I can do that for you. There we go. So, Steel Artifact. I thought this one was a rare as well, actually. White Knight. That was actually the centerpiece of one of my first decks when I played. Like the whole white weenie with Crusades. Essence Flux is pretty fun, that's true. Phantasmal Forces. Wait, Hurricane's a rare, right? How is this sorted? An unboxing, delightful. Yes, welcome. We're unboxing a revised starter deck. And if I did it correctly, we moved the rares to the bottom. But I thought Hurricane was a rare as well. Rulebook. If you ever find one of these, definitely read it. It's super funny to see how they're trying to hype up the game. And it's really clear that they weren't prepared for Magic to be as big as it turned out to be. Wasn't that Energy Flux instead of Essence Flux? Yes. Did I miss-say? I know chat said it differently. Ooh, 3 mana, 2/2. Unsummon, still played. Staple in Gentry for sure. Psychic Venom, Death Ward. Can you read the rulebook to us? Yeah, let's look at that when we're done here. We get the best card in Magic, obviously, Island. That's something not a lot of people realize, is that they put a lot of basic lands in all of the products because they didn't think that people would be buying a lot of the packs. So even if you get a booster of Revised, you could get like 6 basic lands, which at that time made sense, but in today, that's not what people buy these boosters for. Giant Spider. These days it's sadly Forest. I guess those islands are already worth a pretty penny. Revised isn't worth that much, so I second the read the rulebook proposal. Sure, we can do that. Forest, Semite Healer. Oh, Lightning Bolt. That's already pretty nice. Everybody that plays Magic knows that this is a huge staple. Nicely centered, so probably also worth a couple of euros. A dramatic reading of the rules by that happy Viking. Yes, we can do that. Foresta, Crowworm, the undisputed king of the battlefield. Unfortunately, in that time, that wasn't really the case because people didn't really like creatures except what's Sarah's Angel. A Howl from Beyond. Some more lands. Fog. Still as broken as ever. Stone Rain. An ASMR reading. Crap, you already started. Hey, Lowlife. I still don't like creatures. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Stone Rain, the broken. Doing this upside down and with gloves is really confusing. But it helps me be a bit more gentle. Creature, what is this? Creature Bond? Yeah, Creature Bond. Flight. Awesome art, crappy card. What are creatures? Your old school deck features 4 Stone Rain and 4 Shatter. Ooh, you're one of those. Disenchant, very nice. Again, Gentry Stable has survived for... Oh, how many years are we now? 27 of them? Swamp. Island. Grizzly Bears, one of the most iconic creatures in the game. Hello Viking, I hope you have a good opening. I hope so too. We're about 80% in, so it should be getting pretty interesting very soon. I already know what the first rare is, and those of you that were around when I accidentally misaligned the pack will also know. For the rest, the exciting part is getting close. Pestilence. I remember the first time I saw Pestilence, I thought it was the most broken thing ever printed. But then again, I played White Weenie, remember? Stream of Life, beautiful art. I really like these old... Come on, focus on the beautiful art, camera. You can do it. You can do it. Ah, wait, autofocus is off. Right. So I really like these old painted versions of art. I'm a big fan of original, like the art style that Magic had. And then we get BDSM enchantment, getting some bondage on a ferry. Very appropriate for a PG-13 game in the 90s. Imagine if they had Seb McKinnon in the beginning. Oh yeah, for those of you that remember, it's not really a giveaway, but the bid we did for the Seb McKinnon Judge Foil art of Chalice of the Void, I sent that one out today. Signed for the person that bought it, so hope that person is going to be really happy as well. Nice little oversaturated swamp. Restoration. Another swamp. This is becoming a really tiny little pile now. Riots. Merfolk, at least nobody got puppeted in that picture. Not sure what you're referring to, but Circle of Protection red. Mountain. And here we are, the juicy part. Number 1 is Pirate Ship. Getting it a bit closer to the camera. So it's a 5 mana, what was it, 4/3 that does 1 damage that can ping. Wait, let me just read it. Yeah, deals 1 damage to any target. Hey, they used the any target templating back then already. Cannot attack unless opponent has islands in play. Pirate I love the naming. So it cannot attack unless opponent has islands in play, though controller may still use special ability. Pirate ship is destroyed immediately if at any time the controller has no islands in play. Makes sense, right? If you don't have any water, your ship will sink. Not a very valuable rare, but still. Oh, so make sure we keep it in the screen here. Okay, let's go to the next one. Another blue card. Volcanic Eruption. So mass land destruction in blue. That was a thing back then. It is 3 blue and X, destroys X mountains and does 1 damage to each player and each creature in play for each mountain destroyed. Not the best volcanic card in the set, that's for sure. So land destruction and direct damage in blue. How is that not red? Yeah, exactly. But back in the 90s, that was all possible. Okay, there's one card behind this, and I really hope it's a dual land for the person that bought this. Otherwise, it's a little bit of a bust. Are you ready, everybody? Let's have a look. The artist. Oh, it's a black card. Could be Demonic Tutor. That's probably the best black card it could be. And it's a Sorceress Queen. There we go. Can turn any creature into a 0/2 until end of turn. Demonic Tutor is uncommon. Yeah, that's right. So not the craziest of pulls for our buyer here. The Lightning Bolt might just be the best card, but it was really exciting to open like a real piece of history here. That's all I can say about that. And all the cards are like in pristine condition. It's really nice to see this. The art is still awesome. Yes, definitely. So let's get rid of this. And people wanted to do a reading of the rule book, so let's do that as well. Gonna neatly put these away again. No rifle shuffle. Nah. Okay, but maybe we should change to... Actually, I don't have a nice setting. This one, oh no, this one's completely broken. Okay, we'll stay on the dual screen one to read the rule book by popular request. Should I do ASMR? Magic is a game of battle in which you and your opponent represent powerful sorcerers attempting to drive each other from the lands of Dominaria. Your deck holds your tools, creatures, lands, spells, and artifacts. Well, I feel like the little voice thingy that's happening at the beginning of the tutorial. Careful consideration of strategy will play a significant part in the outcome. Well, that's obvious, otherwise it would be a very bad game, right? Missed the introduction. So this is from your collections which someone bought? Yes, that's correct. If you win, you'll gain more than mere satisfaction. The winner of a magic duel also ends up with a card from the loser's deck. That's playing for ante. That's illegal now. But they still say it. Well, the 27-year-old piece of paper said it. Over time, decks will grow and shrink, both from winning and losing cards and from trading with other Magic players. Magic is bold here. Such trading sessions can be very profitable, as you exchange cards you don't need as much for those that fill weak spots in your deck. Setting up a good deck configuration between games can contribute as much to winning as good tactics during a game. Be especially careful when playing new opponents. They will likely have cards you've never seen before, since the internet doesn't exist yet or is not commonly used for gaming activities. And new ways of playing old ones. Even old rivals may have gained new cards and learned new tricks since the last time you met them. Dominaria is a vast place, and surprises will arise from the landscape long after you think you've seen it all. Unless if you read the spoiler, then you know everything. ASMR old comp rule. I love the annotated reading of the old sets. Alright. Any good value cards opened in the starter? No, unfortunately. We got Pirate Ship, Sorcerer's Queen, and Volcanic Eruption. The next section is titled Equipment. You and your opponent will each need a deck of magic cards and some way of keeping score. The most common method is pencil and paper. Some people use 20-sided dice, no longer legal in competitive play, turning them so that the score is face up. because you need to specify that it needs to be face up. You can't have it be sideways because that's confusing, and having it facing down is just, well, you know what it is if it's a regulatory die, but keep it face up. Others use counters or just keep score in their heads. Ooh, keeping score in your head, good plan. If you're going to use counters or dice, keep in mind that many cards may end up giving you more life points than you started with. You'll also need a reasonably large, flat area to lay out the cards during play. No gaming on bed, unless it's a really flat bed. As you convince children that their Underground Sea and Volcanic Island is much worse than your Serra Angel, so obviously that's a worthwhile trade. A sample game. The object of the game is to drive your opponents from the lands of Dominaria. You each start with 20 life points, and whoever pushes the other person to 0 or below first wins. You also win if your opponent cannot draw a card when required to do so. Let's walk through a typical first game, because we'll be doing a lot of explaining. It will seem to go somewhat slowly. Your first couple of games will probably be the same way. Once you know your deck a little better, the flow of the game should be pleasantly rapid. Unless you're playing against somebody who made a mono blue deck and counters all your shit and bounces it. You shuffle your deck while your opponent does the same. If you're playing for anti, illegal, you cut her deck while she cuts yours. It's interesting that they're making the opponent female here. And you both turn over the top card of each other's deck and set them aside as the anti-cards. Whoever wins this game will keep both cards. Niet zot zo gedaan. No. So progressive for the 90s. Yeah. Now the two of you determine who goes first. Play scissors, paper, stone. Flip a coin or whatever works. Don't arm wrestle. That's just awkward. Whatever works. Wait. And then it says your adversary wins. What? What? The rules say that my opponent wins the flip. But I should hold the booklet in the screen so you have something. To begin, you both draw 7 cards. For her first move, your opponent draws a card, puts a land card down, an island. Oh no, she is mono blue, and indicates that she's done. Yeah, blue go. It's your turn. You draw a card and examine your hand more closely. Oh, there's a rubber glove on my hand. You need mana to cast any spells, and lands are the most common sources of mana, so you look for those first. You decide to play your forest card, because you're a noob and noobs start with green. A land that can generate 1 point of green mana. You also have a summon Script Sprite spell in your hand, and it only costs 1 point of green mana. It's also a bad card. She drew a card at the start of her first turn. Correct. Yeah, that's right. I didn't even catch that. Cheating. They're cheating. You know the casting cost because the Script Sprites card shows a single circle with a tree-like thing in it in the upper right corner. This circle matches the symbol on the forest card. 1 mana symbol means 1 mana point of that type. So you announce that you're drawing mana from the forest into your mana pool. For some reason that's in italics. And you turn the forest sidewards to show that you've used it this turn. Turning a card sidewards is called, everybody together now, 3, 2, 1, tapping. Not bowing or exerting. No, tapping. For actually very interesting, Wizards of the Coast managed to copyright the use of the word tapping to turn a card sideways in a collectible card game. That's why all the other games that come afterward have to use like weird alternatives. One player playing with broccoli and the other with alcohol. Best game ever. Now you've got a point of green mana loose in your mana pool. You put down the sprite, which uses up that mana. Like all creatures, the sprites cannot attack this turn. Your turn is over. So you tell your opponent you're done. Your opponent draws another card and puts down a second land, a swamp. Dimir Mages. She now has a swamp and an island in play in case you have an issue with your memory and cannot remember what was written just one page of this 812 booklet ago. The corner, she decides to summon a Drudge Skeletons. The corner of this card says 1 black skull. The skull, the symbol for black mana, matches the swamp card. A grey circle around the 1 means that 1 other point of mana is required, but the color of the other mana isn't important. Other colors don't matter. She might as well play Esper, and we don't know yet. Your adversary turns both the swamp and the island cards sideways, tapping them, then uses the point of black and point of blue mana in her mana pool to cast the skeleton summons. She indicates she's done. At the beginning of your turn, you first untap any cards you have tapped. So you straighten out your forest cards. You really tell them what you expect from them. Give them a haircut. Send them to the military. I don't know. That doesn't sound right. She's tapping out. At the beginning of your turn, blah blah blah, straighten out your forest and draw. You place the second land card in your hand down on the table. This time it's a Plains card. Good guy Selesnya versus bad guy Dimir, which will provide white mana. You also happen to have a Holy Strength in your hand. It's an enchant creature card that costs 1 white mana. You tap the Plains to show you've released the mana from it, then place the Holy Strength on your sprites. In the lower right of the sprite cards is the notation 1/1, which indicates the creature's power and toughness. A creature's power indicates how much damage it does. Normally the sprites would do 1 point of damage when they attack, but the Holy Strength enchantment says the creature on which it is cast gets +1/+2, so your sprites with Holy Strength now act as a 2/3 creature. They thus do 2 points of damage and have a current toughness of 3. It's over 9,000. You could attack with the sprites now, but you decide you're an idiot who doesn't realize how to win and save it for defense. If you attack, the sprites will become tapped, and if they're tapped, they can't defend. The main phase of a turn, the part we just saw, includes casting spells, a single attack that may involve all or any of your creatures on the table, and playing a single land card. You heard it here first, you attack in your main phase. The last part of a turn, the discard phase, just forget about the end step, occurs only if you have more than 7 cards in your hand. It forces you to discard until you have 7. Right now you have less than that, so you can't discard. You indicate your turn's over. A 2/3 without an ETB not playable in Gentry. True. Now it's your opponent's turn. She untaps her lands, draws a card, and gets a really frustrated look on her face. Although she spends a while looking back and forth between her Drudge Skeletons and your sprite, she decides not to actually do anything this turn. She's mana screwed. We got this. Your turn. You draw a card, and since it's another Plains card, you lay it down on the table. Wait, if it weren't a Plains card, you wouldn't? Now you have 2 Plains and 1 forest. You could cast Healing Salve, an instant that either gives you 3 life points or prevents up to 3 damage from being dealt. Because that's good strategy, casting it for 3 life. Have we only opened the booklet yet, or the cards as well? The cards have been opened as well. The rares we got was Pirate Ship, Volcanic Eruption, and Sorceress Queen. Clearly, the booklet is providing more value than the cards. At this point, yeah. Wait, what was this? So you can prevent up to 3 points from being dealt to a creature, but you decide to save this until your need is greater. Besides, now you've got enough to summon a pearled unicorn, because that really gets your blood flowing, which costs 1 white mana and 2 of any color. You tap all your lands and put the unicorn, a 2/2 creature, onto the table, savoring the dismayed look your opponent gives you before they kill it with, like, terror or something. Though you can't attack with the unicorn this turn, you will be able to use it to defend, so you can attack with your sprites and still not have to worry about her skeletons. You announce an attack and tap the sprites. Your opponent can't block with the skeletons because they have the special ability flying. Only other flying creatures can block them because reach wasn't invented yet, even though there's a giant spider that says it can block it. And the skeletons can't fly. Spirits does wing merrily over to your opponent and prick her for 2 points of damage. Did they just call her a prick? The worst part that this stuff got us hooked all these years ago. And it's still cool to hear today. I agree. I agree. You smile as you tell your opponent you're done. Your opponent doesn't need to untap, since none of her lands became tapped since her last turn. Sucks, doesn't it, being mana screwed? She draws a forest. She's salty! She draws a forest and plays it immediately. It's because she drew a card and then didn't shuffle it into her hand. So that's a very bad strategy to do this. You should, like, always hide which card you've drawn. Now, she didn't play a land last turn, so I kind of forgive her. Then she announces that she is attacking and taps her skeletons. This seems suspicious, since the skeletons are only 1/1 and your unicorn is 2/2. The skeletons will be killed if you block with your unicorn, except it has regenerate, so it's even a very safe block. Right? Drudge Skeletons is the 1/1 regenerate, isn't it? Hey Damien, welcome. This isn't as bad for your opponent as it sounds, since the text block on the skeleton card indicates it has a special ability called regeneration. See, it does. Even if the skeletons take enough damage to kill them, your adversary can spend 1 point of black mana to activate the regeneration ability and prevent them from dying. But her attack still seems pointless, since the skeletons can only do 1 point of damage to your unicorn. And the unicorn won't be killed unless it takes damage equal or greater than its toughness, which is 2, in case you didn't realize after saying it for 4 times. Your opponent may have made a mistake, or she may have something up her sleeve. Assuming she's wearing sleeves, like maybe she's in a tank top, and then that's just awkward. Since you still have your sprites, you decide to risk the unicorn. You indicate that you're blocking. Now you see what her sleeve held. She taps her forest, frees 1 point of green mana, and uses it to cast... Everybody knows? Everybody knows? 3, 2, 1. Giant Growth. On her skeletons. Similar to Holy Strength, Giant Growth gives a creature on which it is cast +3/+3, but unlike the Holy Strength, this bonus only lasts until the end of the turn. Another difference between the 2 cards is that Giant Growth is an instant spell, which means that it can be cast during an attack. Instants, along with interrupt spells, creatures with special abilities, and the effects of some artifacts and enchantments are called fast effects. Yeah. Other types of spells, including summons, enchantments, artifacts, and sorceries, cannot be cast during attack. Fast effects can also be cast during your opponent's turn, while you can cast other types of spells only during your own turn. Giant Growth. Cheater, she's palming cards. I'm looking up all the cards. Yeah, do that. Gotta go fast. With that Giant Growth on them, the 1/1 skeletons is now a fierce 4/4 for this turn. They do 4 points of damage to the unicorn, which only has 2 points of toughness. Since it has taken damage equal to or greater than its toughness, the unicorn has taken enough damage to kill it. In return, it has done 2 points of damage, but the skeletons now have a total of 4 points of toughness, so they survive. Well, it's the skeleton. Like, technically surviving, it's a bit of a blurred concept with skeletons, right? Now you wish you hadn't tapped all your mana, because that healing salve spell would have been quite useful. Most creatures that take a lethal amount of damage go to the graveyard, otherwise known as the discard pile. If you could cast the healing salve, you could prevent 3 points of damage to your unicorn. Dead unicorn. No, remember chat, damage doesn't kill creatures. State-based actions do. What are state-based actions? This would reduce the damage the unicorn took from 4 points to 1, which wouldn't be enough to kill it, but you didn't have mana left, so the unicorn goes to the graveyard, and it's your opponent's turn to smile. Bitch. Still, you've got your sprites, and after all, you've got more life points, because that matters. Did damage still go on the stack? No, it didn't go on the stack yet. Damage didn't go on the stack until the 6th edition remake, when they made the stack. In 94, you had like interrupt and action windows or something like that. I never learned the rules back then. Now that you've had a taste of the game, you did one attack and you got your unicorn killed. You can try a couple of different approaches. If you learn best by reading, go on and read the rest of the rulebook. Then try a game with someone. If you learn better by doing, go ahead and play a game or two with somebody. But then you need friends. And refer to the appropriate section of the rules if you get stuck. Then come back and read the whole book. Just be sure you do come back. Wow, this is clingy. If you don't, sooner or later, some smart Alec, smart-Alec, smart-Alec is going to catch you with a rule you won't know unless you read this stuff. Get rules lawyered, sucker. I was 2 in 94. Jeez. Are you that young? I was 3. Well, I was 9. I mean, it's not like I'm super young. And then a bit more boring stuff happens. Blah, blah, blah. Then they repeat everything they just said about the ante. Game turn. During his or her turn, each player must perform the following step, also called phases. Untap phase, upkeep phase, draw a card phase, main phase, in any order. Put a land, make an attack, cast spells. Yeah, sure. Discard down to 7. Inform opponent you are finished. Heal creatures. Those are the phases. The inform opponent you are finished phase. Very, very important. Tapping and untapping. Give a chance to respond. Upkeep, draw, main phase. Inform opponent phase. Wow. Winning the game. You can only win by damage or mill. Sources of mana. Mana chart. Yes, let's get back to the lore. It's the kid-friendly version of smartass. Smart-Alec? Stress on the A. Smart A. Okay, black magic. So the order of magic in the booklet is black, blue, green, red, white. Because screw Wooburg. Black mana. The black magician's power stems from the swamps and bogs. Black magic is the magic of death. The often self-destructing lore of black magic is regarded by most as left unknown. The traditional enemies of black are white and green. The blue magician taps islands for energy. Blue magic is mental in nature. The fortes of blue magicians are artifice, illusion, and deception, as well as the elemental forces of air and water. The green magician draws energy from the forests. Many magicians have been lulled into complacency by green's magic peaceful exterior, the magic of life, and have been caught unaware by the vast destructive capability of its nature. The red magician gets power from the mountains. Red magic is a destructive magic. The magic of earth and of fire, of chaos and of war. The white magician draws energy from the plains. Spells of healing and protection are the white magician's specialty, though chivalrous war magic is not unfamiliar. Okay. They knew back then how useless white is in magic. Yeah, that description really... Wait. And then it starts... So this was an in-between... This was a page in between the text. Parts of a magic card, showcasing the crowworm, casting costs, sacrificing, artifacts. Ah, yes, artifacts. War magic caster again. Yeah. You may cast artifacts only during your main phase. All artifacts, except artifact creatures, may be used the turn in which they are played. If an artifact becomes tapped, you may not use it again until it is untapped, even if it does not normally tap. Right? Get it? Even continuous effects of the artifact cease until it is untapped. So you could tap artifacts and not have them do their thing. Enchantments, summons. That's just creatures, mono artifacts, yeah. Instance, interrupts. Let's read interrupts. An interrupt spell can be played during your turn or your opponent's turn. Though an interrupt is discarded once played, the effect it has on another spell is permanent. If you aren't sure you want to interrupt your rival spell, request some time to think. Once you or your opponent have taken any game action other than casting an interrupt, it is too late to interrupt a spell being cast. Everything at split second. You may interrupt your own spells, and you and your opponent may cast more than one interrupt at a time. Oh yeah, so it's split seconds for non-split second spells. You may also interrupt an interrupt. See timing for more information. That's gonna be interesting. 28 viewers! Holy shit! Welcome everybody. I hope you're enjoying the stream of me reading this little tiny booklet. So, more on special abilities. Where's the timing section? Because that's gonna be juicy. Priority wasn't a thing. First strike, protection, visiting the graveyard. Timing. Alright. Let's get into timing. The timing of spells is occasionally rather tricky. You and your opponent might both want to do something at the same time, or counteract a counteraction, or something equally devastating. When you read the timing rules to follow, please keep in mind that you should never be in a race to see who can announce a spell first. If your opponent is checking with you after every step, or at least moving slowly enough that you can jump in if you want, you shouldn't ever have to pounce to get a spell cast. If both players want to announce spells, the player whose turn it is announces spells first, so priority. Except for fast effects, spells occur one after the other, so one spell gets to finish casting before another starts. Interrupts and timing. Interrupts, which are considered fast effects, are resolved immediately after casting, unless they are interrupted themselves. Hey, we got a host. Thank you very much, Geek Girl. Interrupts, which are considered fast effects, are resolved immediately after casting unless they are interrupted themselves. Don't actually cut in when someone is announcing an interrupt. Wait until your opponent finishes, then announce an interrupt of your own. Remember, players are always obliged to give their opponent a chance to cast spells in response to their actions. If a spell is the target of more than one interrupt, then the player who cast that spell resolves his or her interrupts of that spell first, no matter in what order the interrupts were cast. Wait, what? That's interesting. I just figured out how to host. Just flick the card in their face and we lost him. We lost who? Is there a problem with the stream? Nah. Other fast effects and timing. Other fast effects include instant spells, creature special abilities, and effects generated by permanents in play. After your opponent announces a spell or fast effect, you may respond with one or more fast effects. Your opponent may then respond by announcing fast effects in return, and then you may respond until nobody wants to cast anymore. Once all effects have been announced, then each one takes effect, starting with the last effect announced. Fast effects other than interrupts are resolved last to first. There is one exception to this rule. If damage is to be applied to a player or creature, it doesn't take effect until all fast effects in the chain are resolved. So as long as there are spells on the stack, you don't get damage. That got hugely exploited in the 96 Pro Tour, for those of you that want to know. Did no one else hear the dial-up noise? No. You looked like you needed to reboot your brain. Just weird things. So once things are resolving, you can't cast things? Nope, correct. You can build up the stack, but as soon as both of you say, I'm done, it just goes blah, 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 blah. Crazy shizzles. Countering effects. Some interrupts will counter other spells or effects. If a spell or fast effect is countered, the cost of the effect is not refunded, but the spell or effect fails to occur. Countered spells are discarded to the graveyard. Countering an effect with an interrupt is the only way to prevent that effect from happening. Boring. Failed spells and missing targets, responding to spells, fast effects, defense and fast effects, damage and saving dying creatures. Example of spell combat. Whew. when your brain rebooted the dial-up noise. Jeez. Yeah, sorry, I'm slow. Example of spell combat. Chris has grizzly bears, a 2/2 creature in play. Layla casts Terror on the bears, which would bury them. In response, Chris casts Unsummon on the bears, which would bring them back to his hand. Neither player decides to use any more fast effects. So the spells are now resolved in reverse order. First, the Unsummon happens, so the bears go back to Chris' hand. Now Terror goes off, its target now gone, so the spell fails and is discarded. If Chris had decided to unsummon the bears and in response Layla had cast Terror, or if a second Terror would have been cast after unsummon, the bears would have been buried. Cards that break the rules. There's a reference to old rules in this booklet. That's gonna be interesting. Some cards grant abilities that... Earlier versions of Magic the Gathering had a slightly different set of rules. There have been many subtle changes between the old set and this revised set. We strongly encourage anyone who has played during the old rules to read this new set carefully and at least twice, so you aren't surprised when somebody else plays differently. Since the card wordings and the rulings are closely linked, fixing cards between versions would also cause peculiar side effects, which you should be prepared to discuss with your opponent ahead of time. We encourage you to write to us if you have any questions or concerns about Magic the Gathering. Write to Wizards of the Coast, PO Box 707, Renton, WA 98055 0707, ATTN Magic. We also provide electronic support. We have an email list. You might have heard of this. The duelists are blah blah blah, original artwork, and then a glossary. That is all the rulebook has to say. I'm taking off these gloves, they're really sticky. All right, I'll get this thing out of my face, get the lighting a bit softer. There we go. That is opening the revised starter deck. Unfortunately, we didn't open any of the dual lands. Now, current comp rules. Dude, no, that's too long. Though we can have a look at the updates with whatchamacallit, Ikoria.